Good morning, everybody. Today we have lesson 245. Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. I got that volume. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit over there. There we go. That seems about right.
Christopher is setting the mood in the
Nice.
room. Did you see his
I do
again?
now.
Now I can play Britney Spears.
I need people to point it out to me. Thank you. All right. I think we're all set. Seems like everything's working well. I'm going to go. Lesson 245. Your peace is safe with me, Father. Nope. Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. And we are in special theme number 3. What is the world? And as we read through these 10 days that this special theme covers, I kind of go back and forth between reading the default description in the book and Tom's notes, and today is a Tom's Notes day, and then I'll get into lesson 245. So notes for special theme number 3. What is the world? The central theme lessons for 241 through 250. The world, as we know it, is a world of false perception. The world was born out of the idea of separation and will continue to remain as our provisional reality as long as the mind that birthed the world continues to value the thought of separation. When the thought of separation has been changed to the thought of true forgiveness, the world as you perceive it will be seen differently by your mind. The new viewpoint for seeing your world will lead to the truth that the separation is not real. By changing the thoughts that the mind values, the belief and the effects of the thought of separation and its related world will disappear. All errors that arose from those thoughts will also vanish. The thought of separation is the powerhouse that made the world of false perception seem real. When this thought is gone, the effects of the belief in separation are also gone. The world of false perception is an attack on God. This world symbolizes fear. And what is fear but the absence of love? This world was perceived to be a place where God's love could not enter. It was a place where we could imagine that we'd been exiled from the safety and protection of a God of only love. It becomes a place where sinners can either hide from or be punished by a judgmental God of wrath. Ugh. Here, in the world of perception, we can pretend that we're separate from God's love, separate from God, and separate from our source. This world is a place where we can pretend we do not know what we are. We have lost the knowledge of our true identity. This loss of certainty with our connection to our source provides the mechanism for illusions to arise. Knowledge is based on certainty. Perception is based on uncertainty. Perception is someone's judgment or opinion, not necessarily the facts. With the loss of certainty, mistakes become possible. Our senses were born to verify our ego's belief that its judgments are correct. Both our senses and the world of form are designed to prove that the separation is real. So what does all this mean anyway? A Course in Miracles says that this world is not real. This seems to contradict our senses and leads to an argument over whether the non-reality of this world is true. It also leads to the idea that if the world is not real, it is of no consequence. If so, what we do within this illusionary world is of no concern. If you kill, hate, steal, love, forgive, or help another, it wouldn't matter, since the world is not real. No matter what you did, it would have no consequence, since it would not change the truth of what you really are, and you would always remain perfect, whole, and complete. If there are no real consequences to our actions in the form of a reward or punishment, what does it matter how we behave towards one another? Our physical senses are designed to confuse form for content or purpose. We look at the form as something we value rather than the purpose behind the thought form. ACIM states that the world is false perception, born from the thought of separation. But what does separation really mean? When most people talk about separation, they mean that there is a space or a gap between two parties, and that they are not one. This is a proper interpretation based on form, but not based on content or purpose. The senses and the world your senses observe deal with the form, but not the thought that caused the manifestation of that thought to appear as some physical form or object. The thought that birthed the form is what we need to focus on. When we mistake the form as separate from the thought that manifested it, we fail to realize the causative nature of our own mind. It now appears as if there are outside forces that create your world, that your mind is not the causative power behind your world. The thought of separation is not the idea that you're physically separate from God. The thought of separation is the idea that there are outside forces that can rob you of your inner peace or make you happy. The thought of separation is the belief that you're not perfect, whole, and complete as God created you, and therefore this imperfect creation has needs that must be met by outside forces that you do not directly control. You may have some limited ability to indirectly influence these outside forces so that you can partially control, manage, and mitigate. Excuse me. Sorry.
Bless you.
You may have some limited ability to indirectly influence these outside forces so that you can partially control, manage, and mitigate the effects of their independent actions. Yet your belief in separation asserts that these forces have some ability to oppose your will, and that opposition to your desires can affect your own state of being. Separation is the belief that you are at least partially a victim of these outside forces, and your happiness can be impacted by them. The implication is that you're flawed in some way. A Course in Miracles states that rather than attempt to change your world, you should change how you view your world. When you change the purpose for your world will automatically realign to support that new viewpoint or purpose. In our previous discussions, we have cloaked this idea with the terminology of our purpose being either love or fear. In the world of form, forgiveness represents acting in a loving manner and is fear's opposite. Fear arises anytime you believe you lack the creative power to handle a given situation. Fear is really the belief that there are outside forces that can affect your state of being. A Course in Miracles is really asking that you change not the form of your world, but rather the purpose that your world serves. Surprisingly, a world of seeming hate and fear does not have to support your mind's belief in separation. Currently, the purpose of this fearful world is to prove that your mind is an effect and not the cause of your experiences. Yet, you can't reverse that thinking. Your world currently acts as your mind's proving grounds to confirm that there are outside forces that can make you happy or sad. Perceiving ourselves as separate, we believe we are not totally responsible for our own happiness. We value the things of the world because we believe something outside of ourselves can make us happy or sad. It is important to note that our belief in separation supports the idea that outside forces can make us either happy or sad. Many spiritual types do not value this world as a source for their happiness. Instead, they view it as the cause that prevents them from being happy. Many spiritual types believe that only departing from this world through the physical death or renunciation, they can escape to the promised land. This belief supports the thought that there are outside forces that can either make you happy or prevent your happiness. Both beliefs are equally disempowering and support and reaffirm your ego's belief in separation. Grace is the acceptance of love, the love of God, in a world of seeming hate and fear. Grace is accepting the power of your mind to interpret the events that swirl around your consciousness in a way that empowers your mind and supports your inner peace. Grace is the acceptance that God has given you the gift of mind. Your mind is the source for your experiences. Because you have been given the gift of mind, there is nothing outside your own mind that can rob you of your own inner peace or happiness. The Holy Spirit uses this world's belief in separation to teach that lesson. Within the control of your mind is the power of interpretation. You get to give meaning to all that comes into your awareness. You can either choose to interpret the events and circumstances with fear or love and forgiveness. Remember, forgiveness acknowledges and rests upon the fact that your own mind, not your brother, has the sole power to affect your inner peace. If you choose to interpret this world of perception through the eyes of fear, you will be confirming your belief that there are outside forces that can rob you of your inner peace. You'll be reaffirming your belief in separation. You will continue to hold grievances against these outside forces for not behaving in a manner conducive to your ego's plan for your happiness. If you choose to interpret your world of perception through the eyes of love, you will confirm your belief that there are no outside forces that can make you happy or sad. You'll realize that nothing can rob you of your own inner peace because your mind is the sole interpreter for all the meaning that you assign to your world. When you forget that fact and a grievance arises, remember the truth, and you will be able to forgive all and reinterpret your own thoughts with loving eyes, thus reclaiming the creative power of your own mind. You will not attribute a thought form with any creative power to impact your reality. When you give your day over to the Holy Spirit, you're actually asking God to teach you that there are no external forces outside your own mind that can make you happy or sad. That is the function of the Holy Spirit. You're not asking that all the events that transpire within your day be pleasant. Instead, You're asking that all events be seen through the prism of true reality, that nothing outside of your mind has any power over you. You are asking the Holy Spirit's guidance in properly interpreting all events to support the causative nature of your own mind. In the world of form, you may still be physically robbed, but you will know that no one can rob you of your mind's power of interpretation. You alone determine what meaning you will assign to that event. And when you associate yourself as mind, not the game token called the body, you no longer believe that your safety rests in the preservation of the body or the things of this world. The mind that knows that it alone is responsible for its own happiness is not affected by a world of seeming hate and fear. A mind that values this world as the source for its own happiness or sadness disempowers itself. It makes the world support the belief in separation and makes the world of seeming hate and fear real. Perceiving itself to lack the creative ability to handle the situations in its world, fear becomes that mind's provisional reality. You save your world when you stop blaming the world for the loss of your inner peace and joy. Your world is an effect of your own mind's causative powers of thought. Being an effect, your world has no creative power to change the mind that thought it. When you accept this principle of the creative power of your own mind, you drop the blame, shame, and guilt game that keeps you trapped within a world of time. By claiming responsibility for your own thinking, you free yourself from the thought system of fear that was originally designed to support your ego's belief in lack, limitation, and separation. In eternity, your world remains exactly as it behaved in time. Your world has always been changeless, not in its appearances as form, but rather in its inability to change the creative power of your own mind. The mind that transports its world from time to eternity knows this truth. You are not a body. You are free. You are still as God created you. Nothing sources your experiences but you, and nothing can affect you unless you choose to allow it within your own mind. Taking a second to highlight this for myself. All right, that brings us to the end of the theme information, and now I'm going to read lesson 245 so you could follow along in your books. Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. In Tom's book, I'm on page 459. And if you're looking for this in the blue book, oh my goodness, we're on page 416. Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. Your peace surrounds me, Father. Where I go, your peace goes there with me. God's peace sheds its light on everyone I meet. I bring God's peace to the desolate and lonely and afraid. I give your peace to those who suffer pain or grieve for loss, or think they're bereft of hope and happiness. Send them to me, Father. Send them to me, my Father. Let me bring God's peace with me, for I would save your Son, as is your will, that I may come to recognize my higher self. And so we go in God's peace To all the world we give the message that we have received, and thus we come to hear the voice for God who speaks to us as we relate God's word, whose love we recognize because we share the word that God has given to us. The notes for Lesson 245. Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. To receive the peace of God, you need to give the peace of God to all. Only by giving peace do we prove and acknowledge that we possess the peace of God. Peace belongs to the mind that joins with all in forgiveness. An unforgiving mind is the mind at war with itself and its world. In time, your function is forgiveness, your purpose is love, and your destiny is the peace of God. And Dean says, it's mine. It's mine.
Oh, yeah. And I have a 4-day weekend, so
Dean's
Dad
very
won't
happy
have to-
about that.
Dad won't have to be late or do his.
That's
his
right.
thing.
I don't have to take it on the road, baby. All right, Mr. Tom.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lee. And thank you, Dean. So, in regards to this lesson, this says, Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. The theme that we're on right now is the idea that this world is a world of perception, and it's our beliefs that color the world. The first theme was on forgiveness, of forgiving ourselves for all the misperceptions that we believed we needed to go through to reawaken and rediscover what we truly are. That perhaps we believed that we were sinners and therefore had to earn our way back to redemption or salvation. And it's this idea that we have to decide that we've paid the price, that we give ourselves forgiveness to move on and graduate. The second, and to accept the truth of what we are, which this lesson says is the truth is that you are peace, or the truth is that you remain part of that one self, and that because of that divine DNA, you always are safe no matter what you perceive yourself to be. If you believe yourself to be a body that has no ability to really change the truth of what you are. The second theme was on salvation, and it said salvation is God's promise to all his children that they must reawaken, that ultimately their destiny, their divine inheritance has never been lost, and ultimately each of us on our own perfect time, our own perfect path, will reawaken to that truth and reclaim our destiny. This third section is saying that the world is a world of perception that's based on our own projections, and that our senses are thought confirmation devices, and that they go out and confirm or gather evidence that supports whatever we believe. They ignore all evidence that would contradict our expectations or our beliefs, and only report back what we want, what we told them to find out there. If we told them to find hate and fear, that's what they will find. They'll go out ignoring any other acts of love or forgiveness and report back those fearful experiences, those fearful ideas, because they are thought confirmations and they're following our marching orders that we've given the senses. I'd like to, relate a little personal experience that I had, because personal experiences, although they're personal, they may help other people, if they understand them, if they believe them, to realize some aspect that maybe they weren't aware of. And in this case, I'm going to go back to about 25 years ago when I was doing a lot of intensive spiritual practices. And it was with this idea of discreating beliefs, discreating past beliefs that you held about yourself. And in order to do that, there was a number of steps involved. But one of the steps, and we'll just kind of quickly go through it, was the idea of first identifying what the belief was. And then, if there was ever a belief that you had to be a realization of two things. One is at, that that belief came out of your mind and that you were the source for that belief. And the second thing was that that belief was something that you wanted to experience. And so that it was not something that was harmful. It was just an experience that you wanted to have so that you could learn and grow. And so you needed to experience that item, whatever it was, that belief to its fullest, and then take responsibility for that belief, then realize that you were the creator of that belief so that it wasn't something outside of you, but was something that came from your mind, and you being the source of that thought or that belief was the parent, and that you could therefore claim ownership, responsibility, experience that belief to its fullest so that that experience had no more charge on you, that you could now learn whatever you wanted, which was the experience itself that that might have wanted to teach you. And then you expanded beyond that belief. You saw the belief for what it was, a subset of your own mind's making. You took responsibility for it, and you intentionally decided that now it was time to unplug it, to pull the plug, the energy source that continued to feed that belief, because now you have actually experienced it and it no longer had any charge. You had drained it of all its use, its need for you. And therefore, since there was nothing more to learn from it, you could unplug the energy. You could, the Course in Miracles might use the term forgive yourself, not a term that we used, but that you could claim ownership of it and decide intentionally that you no longer needed that belief. And as you unplugged it, that belief, that energy that was powering that belief about yourself would disappear. And then they were very weak on this, but uh, was this idea that there was now space for you to decide how you could d- implement that reclaimed energy, what new belief you might want to replace it with. So, anyways, that was a process. And I was very good at that process because I was quite willing to experience things to its fullest. I didn't necessarily resist that idea. And because of my past trainings and stuff, the idea that beliefs came first and generated our experiences. and that I was the power source was something that I had learned and practiced many years. So it's very good at being able to discreate beliefs. And so as I went through this process over, the weeks or so, and debugged myself of all these limiting beliefs, I decided that I wanted to discreate the idea of separation, or that I was the body and the body was me. Now, they said that that was impossible, and obviously, since I'm still here, they were correct, at least on a long-term basis of this lifetime. But when I did that, what happened was, as I dropped all my belief in separation, you could say that my senses lost their marching orders, and they were no longer told that they were supposed to go out and find things that supported the idea of separation. So my senses, my eyes, no longer reported back a form of separation. Instead, all that they reported back to me was a kaleidoscope of energy fields moving in and out, very, very beautiful, very, very peaceful, and that I was part of that one system, that moving of energy. And in this case, although there were various colors that moved in and around, there was no distinction. They, I realized that they were all part of this oneness. And as I went through that experience, and it lasted less than 2 weeks, I was in a very blissful, peaceful state. I felt that oneness, that connection. I felt the peace is with me, Father. I am safe. It was a total great feeling of ecstasy, of feeling of acceptance, of wonderment. And there was just out there a sense of awe, of beauty that there was there. And because lost my, I had changed my marching orders for my senses, I was not very functional in this world. I couldn't really function because I couldn't differentiate the form, and I was still in the world of form. I was my true essence, and but I couldn't operate because I couldn't in the world of perception, which is the world of perception. I lost that ability. It was interesting how they got me back to becoming aware of things. Uh, they had me on treadmills. They had me trying to eat and reconnect to the body because I had discreated that connection. But one of the most important things was trying to get me to reclaim my ability to create separation, to be able to label things as separate or distinct. And whenever they were first doing this, I just really couldn't do that. And I had lost the labels of anything. I couldn't see a table, but that I could see as energy moving in and out, and the connectiveness of all things. And so it was trying to get me to label things, even though I didn't recognize them. And as I slowly regained and connected back to the body token, I started to slowly recover that ability. And although I had no great desire to come back or regain that ability, it wasn't really my time. So there were other things to do. And eventually I submitted, I guess, and realized that I needed to, do other things, and I needed the body. I needed that sense of separation. But in that to that period that I experienced that I kept the truth that we are not separate. I know the truth that we are energy, part of this oneness. And it's that knowledge that gives me certainty that your peace, the peace of God, the truth of what I am is within me, and that I am safe. So, what I'd like to do today, if we could, is to take a little journey in our own mind and to try to realize that if we want the peace that is your true divine inheritance, must be willing to forgive yourself or to discreate your beliefs of the separation, the idea that maybe you're a sinner, or that there's something wrong with you, or perhaps wrong with your creator for creating you flawed, and then move on to the idea that your divine inheritance, your salvation is guaranteed by God, and then embrace the truth that you remain part of that one self, and that the game token we call the body is the, use the term illusion, but is just a thought form that we need to experience this world. And the world of perception is designed not for us to earn our divine inheritance, but merely to remember the truth about we are, and to remove the blocks we've placed in front of our ideas of our mind being a oneness, being only love, and those blocks that we've placed in front to prevent us from realizing that truth. And so that this world now becomes our play school for remembering, reawakening to the truth. And now it becomes a place where we can hone our skills in demonstrating what love would have us do. And then we're going to try and actually do some of the things that love would have us do. So, why don't you get comfortable and just become aware of the breath? And the breath is really our kind of connection to the game token that we call the body. And by using the pump, if you want to call it the diaphragm, the lungs to take in and out the life force, that we're really animating the game token. Be kind of like one of these puppets that we now breathe air into it, and it starts expanding and taking on some form. Prior to us placing that attention and our awareness, it was just laying there on the floor. As we pump it up with our awareness, it takes on a more uh, apparent shape, and the idea of us being just an energy field, we seem to start creating some boundaries or separations. between various energies, which are really just one united field. So let's just become aware of the breath. And as we do that, the breath is really just a symbol. It's just something that we can watch and imagine. And as we breathe in, we realize that we're really not taking in air, we're taking in life force, the love of God, and that it's just our awareness as a decision maker, as individuated consciousness, as to what we're going to place our that attention particles upon. And that'll be what we kind of activate or become aware of in our mind. And as we breathe in the love of God, this energy, just place it not on the pumping up of the game token, the costume, the body, but pumping up your true essence, your light within you. So that as you take in this energy, your light, once appearing perhaps as a little candle, becomes brighter and brighter. I breathe in, or I accept the love of God, and I release all these ideas of that I'm separate, that I'm a body. I breathe in the truth of what I am, God's beloved child, and I release all my beliefs that somehow I had offended my parent, my soul parent. I accept the love of God and I release all thoughts that I was a sinner. I accept the love of God and I release all thoughts that my Creator had somehow made me flawed, made me imperfect. And as I accept the love of God, I release those grievances that I held against my soul parent that made me perceive or believe myself to not be part of that one self. I accept the atonement for myself, that idea that I am part of the at one-ment, and I release all thoughts of separation. I accept the love of God and I forgive myself for all past experiences, all past beliefs, past grievances that I seem to hold against others, but in essence, I held against myself. I accept the creative power of mind, and I realize that it was my unwillingness to accept responsibility for my own limiting beliefs that seemed to create this world of separation. I embrace the creative power of my mind as decision maker, and I forgive all my world for all the things, all the hoops, the plans that I had made for them to make me happy. I accept the will of God, that God's will is that I be happy. And I accept the idea that I, as decision maker, have been given the creative power to be or imagine anything that I want. Today, I find the peace, the truth within me. I embrace the truth of my divine inheritance. And I realize I am safe. I accept my creative power. And as decision maker, I realize that it is my mind that creates my experiences. It is my mind that places the attention particles that call into my awareness what I choose to experience. I am energy. I am pure potential energy. And I, as decision maker, can direct that attention particles to confirm the truth as opposed to trying to confirm my misperceptions of what I am. I accept the peace of God, the truth that I am God's beloved child. And as I accept that truth, I realize that all experiences are merely learning lessons that I desired at one time to experience. And now I realize that I can embrace those experiences. No longer blame, shame, guilt associated with all those past experiences. Just realizing that I am on my own perfect path and that only the plan of God for my reawakening works. I accept the truth of what I am and I release all my egoic beliefs that I had to earn salvation, that I had to do something to make me perfect, whole, and complete. I accept the peace that comes from within me. I am safe. I release all notions that the game token we call the body has any ability to impact me, the cause of the thought form, and that the body is not the limitation I claimed it to be. I accept the freedom that I am not a body. I am free. I am still as God created me. Nothing sources my experience but me, and nothing can rob me of my own inner peace unless I choose to allow it. God's peace is within me. My parent has kept me safe. God's peace surrounds me. Where I go, God's peace is there with me. God's peace sheds its light upon everyone I meet. The law of God is to give, is to receive. And as I receive the peace of God, I now extend that peace to all the actors on this stage, on this game board of reawakening to the truth of what we really are. I give your peace to those who suffer pain or grieve for loss or think they are bereft of hope and happiness. It's only their belief, their own misperception that keeps them trapped. Today, as I receive the peace of God, I extend that same peace to all my sisters, all my brothers, all the actors on this screen. I hold the truth that they remain as God created them, perfect, whole, and complete. No separation, just individuated aspects of consciousness, reawakening to the truth that there is only the one self. Send those people that sleep to me today. Send them to me, my parent, my father, my mother, my God. Let me bring your peace with me, for I would save all your sleeping minds and hold the truth that your will is that they, like me, only be happy, that I may come to recognize that truth in myself and extend that same truth to all who sleep and misperceive the truth of what they really are. So today we go in God's peace. To all the world, we give the message that we have received. We are God's beloved child. And with this, nothing in this world can cause me to be harmed, for I am safe. I am not the game token. I am not the body. I am pure energy, an extension of the love of God. And thus, as we come to hear the voice for God, the Holy Spirit that speaks to us as we relate God's words, those words we recognize as coming from God, the voice that we, like itself, is pure love. And therefore, love extends itself to all in total acceptance. Today, I will not judge my brothers or sisters for the roles that they play in this dance. I will not misperceive the truth of what they are. I will hold that truth that they remain as God created. And as I receive that truth, I extend that to all, knowing that they are free to be or imagine anything they want. I no longer have to make them wrong. I can allow all things, accept all things, forgive all things, trust all things, because I can transcend all things with the truth that peace is within me. I am safe. And as I do that, I can extend that same truth to all the other actors. They remain as God created. Their divine inheritance is kept for them. And I no longer will judge, try to make them wrong. There's nobody to fix, nobody to change, nobody to control, nobody to protect, nobody to impress. There is nobody. God is, and you are that one. Create a great day for yourself and your world. Namaste. the God in me recognized the God in you. Today, go about your world, go about God and extending that peace. Thank
Thank you,
Holy
Tom.
Course in Miracles, Batman.
Oh my
That
goodness, Dad.
that was something else. Um, Tom, I'm just overwhelmed by that. And the amazing thing for me is that I had come to a new conclusion that as a result of two conversations in the last couple of days, that I'm going to do the same thing, but it came from a totally different way. You just have a great way of all encompassingly explain it. The conclusion that I came to was that while we abide in a world of duality, each person gets to embrace their own singularity. And their singularity might be, well, is their way of thinking, seeing the world. It's a competitive world, it's a this world, it's a that world, the political differences, all of those things. I came to the same conclusion this morning that while we abide in a world of duality, that's where we are. Hard to debate that. Each person gets to embrace their own personal point of view, their own singularity. And it's okay. They can do that. I can have peace while they do that. And that is the amazing, for me, that's the amazing lesson of today. So I want other people also to share, and I won't go on after that. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody.
Hi,
How are
Adriana.
you? Well, I'm having breakfast here, and I really love the reaction that Bob said before, because it's really the same that I was experiencing. Like, oh my God, that meditation Tom's does is like a praying. It's so even if I'm not able to close my eyes and stay still and do things around my preparation for school, I can I can feel the depth and the peaceful. I mean, I can feel it. I can feel it, and it's a beautiful prayer, even if you are not able to stay still. So thank you, Thomas, always, because your experience brings us more light into our own path. And well, yesterday something happened that I want to share as part of what Bob said, the singularity that is in everything, and we all have. It's a perspective, a point of view, and the only thing that you need to do is just make up your mind. What do you want to see, right? I was talking yesterday with my mother-in-law. We had lunch together because my daughter was with her father, and she was complaining a little bit or frustrated. She wasn't complaining. She was frustrated because the carpenter hasn't come to her house. She already paid him, and he hasn't come to do some fixing in a door that it's made out of glass too. And that door, it's really huge and big, and uh, and it's really hard to move it, to open it and close it. uh, right now is like kind of stuck. I mean, in that moment, sorry. So we were talking about that, and so we were talking about that, and the conversation went through. She expressing her frustration, and my first thought was, well, let's apply to that person the Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, and I love you. And she said, ah, yes, yes, I should do that with Raul. Raul is the carpenter. Yeah, do that because we don't know what he's experiencing right now, and he might be in trouble or something. Then we don't want to judge him because that will make us create conflict in our minds, and we want only have peace. So let's just do that with him, and we did that, and then I was talking about Beta's comment about holy water the other day that I told you the story, and she said, "Ah, that is a beautiful thought. Yeah, everything is holy," and well, and the door came back again. I mean, the subject of the door came back, and she said, "Is that I'm afraid of that door because it's made of glass, and I always think that Vera, it's gonna have an accident with it. It's a risk for Vera." And I saw her, and I completely understood that the issue with Raul not coming to fix the door and anything, it was all related to that huge fear that she has that the door is gonna be harmful for Vera. So I kind of catch the entire plot of the ego, and I told Laura, there it is, it's that fear. And I said to her, no, it's not that Raul is having any issue or anything, it's that you are afraid of that door, and everything that it's in your mind right now about that door, it's making it stuck because you don't want to have that door function correctly because you think that door is you you think that door is it's a risk. So you don't feel, honestly, you don't feel like that door needs to be open and closed all the time. You need it's some kind of reaction. The door is having. I don't know if I'm expressing myself very well right now, but the door is
You're doing great.
it was stuck. The door, we couldn't. It was really hard to open that door, and as I was telling her, I have always feel afraid, have been feeling afraid of that. And so I said to her, as I told Vera, I'm going to say this to you. All the doors are holy, so let's bless them. Let's consider them holy. Don't need anything, any father or anything to come here and bless that door. You can bless that door. Bless that door and consider everything that is around you as blessed as you can, because everything around you can be harmful for Vera. Vera can fall around the table and open her face, whatever. So let's, instead of having that fear, let's bless those things that gives us fear in order for our minds to get a little bit at ease around that object. And we were talking about it, and we have lunch. And then I had to go through that. When I finished my lunch, I had to go to the bedroom, so I had to move the door. And guess what? The door was so smooth, as always has been at the beginning of that creation. It was super smooth. It wasn't stuck. It wasn't, but it was like, really, honestly, I couldn't believe my eyes because the door was stuck. It was super hard to move it, to open it. And those doors are huge. I think Lee has saw those doors in the screen when we are in the in the Zoom call. But those doors are huge and
And we're
really
talking
hard to open.
12 feet worth of sliding glass doors.
Exactly. It's like,
Multiple layers. Yeah.
yeah. And then when I stand up and I went to the door, I was whoop, whoop, and the door's open. I was, oh my God, that is so cool. So it is not that maybe it's not that something I talked to her made the door different, but maybe it was that fear that was holding things like in a such super fixed position, because it was such a fearful thought about that maybe releasing that kind of fear give the entire engagement with that object a different kind of uh, yeah, relationship. And I haven't had to move it right now or anything, but yesterday was like, oh my God, look at this, Laura. And I open and close it, and she said, oh my God, yeah. So she will still have to have the carpenter look at those things, because there's a lot of things around the house that needs to be fixed, but at least the big issue that was moving or opening that door was already solved. And it was beautiful. It's kind of related what Bob was saying. Everything is a singularity. So as everything is a singularity, but you are in a dualistic world, you get to decide. Are you going to see everything holy, or are you going to see everything as a risk? And today's lesson is, your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. So, and yesterday, I am not in danger. How was the yesterday lesson? I'm not in danger in nowhere in the world, or something like that. Yeah, it's true. If you put your mind in blank, you don't get judged to judge anything, and then you realize that your peace, the Father peace, is with you. You don't get to worry. I mean, you will not have to worry about anything from this world, because you will see every aspect of it, yeah, as a partial reflection of His light, not your perception, your judgment, and your past experiences. And it's a beautiful way of going through the day. So I wanted to share that because it was really cool to have that experience with the door. And I hope it brings you a little bit of, yeah, validation of what Tom said. Tom had this beautiful experience in his life to be able to detach completely from all the labels in his mind. He didn't like disappear from this world, but his mind could really had an experience of oneness, and he had to relearn a lot of things. But that experience gave him the certainty that this is true, that this is uh, the only truth, in fact. And that's why he has put effort to make that book, to join us, to share his experience, because for him is a truth after experience. The book, A Course in Miracles, is not a theoretical book, it's a practice book. I mean, this is the way, the way of science, if you want to call it like that. So you wanna
Yeah, a practical path up the mountain,
a
right?
practical, yeah, if you want to have
Yeah.
the full benefit of the book, you have to really force yourself to do it during the day. That's why the lessons are one each day, because then you will have the opportunity to test it. And when you test those concepts, then they grow stronger within you, in order for you to see them as truth, as the truth that there is. The, everything is a singularity in a dualistic world that comes from an idea, and a separation idea. So you get to pick what part of the duality you want to see. So thank you very much. I'm gonna go around my day about my day. So thank you everybody for joining us. I
Thanks,
love you
Adriana.
all. Bye bye. I'm gonna be
Your
here,
I
but listen.
No problem. Your ideas are like flowers blooming in my mind. It's wonderful. In fact, this whole course is like a flower. You can't force a flower to open. If you try and force the bud of a rose to open, you're just going to destroy it. So, with time, all things happen, and in time, we discover and learn. We need time to grow, we need time to change, we need time for those petals to open on their own accord. And that's what the lessons do for us. Just like Adriana was saying, one step at a time, we get proof in our world with our eyes that this is working. So, today, I hope that you're able to sit with this, that your peace is with you, within you, wholly within you, untouched by any outside source. Your peace is with me, Father. I am safe. Is a wonderful message for a Friday morning. Go ahead, Papa.
Well, yeah, I want to add something to that, and it's actually an antecedent to what I said a little while ago, meaning it came before it. Before I could get the thought that was trying to get through to me, let's say, that everybody has their own singularity and it's okay because we still live in a world of duality. Okay, before that, I had to take apart another idea which is used all the time, and it's not even that I had to take it apart. It was shown, It was shown to me. I could see that if I look at a nickel, a coin, that one side has a buffalo and the other side has whatever it has on it, but that even though it's one coin and we like to say it has two sides, I have the choice of deciding which side is more relevant to me, heads or tails. Now, that sounded like a judgment, and it is if I apply it to politics, I can assure you. And I have not been peaceful for years now, based upon certain political things, and I have not been able to be comfortable. I felt like, what can I do to change somebody else's mind about their political viewpoint? I found out that my brother, who lives in Israel, does not share the same political viewpoint that I do. I found it out. I was sort of sure of it, but the other day he made it very clear. So how do I get peace of mind then? Because the negative train of thought from there is, this is going to break us up. This is going to make it difficult for us to talk. And I went into that whole song and dance. And then this morning, this came to me, that in a world of duality, everybody gets to embrace their own singularity. I can still hold on to my singularity just because he has a different one, a different viewpoint. It's okay now. I can feel a new grace-given peace that all is well, that's going to work out. How will it work out? I don't really care anymore. I know that it will. If I allow him to embrace his singularity, his viewpoint, then I get to maintain my viewpoint as good. And that's all that counts. In this world of duality, we have lots of nickels and dimes. But so what? The most important thing is not the nickels and dimes, but the peace of mind that can go on in my spirit. And I have to say, this is not a boast or anything else. It's a statement so that someone else might get something out of it. But it happened to me. It was a miracle that happened to me this morning. And then to hear Tom go through this incredible litany of the same thoughts and ideas, it just blew me away. And it made me realize what an amazing new insight that I have gotten. So I'm very, very thankful that I keep coming back each day here to share these kinds of things. Because I know if I share it, maybe someone else can get a little bit more piece of the God that they embrace. And that's my thought.
I'm sure they do, Dad. Thank you so much. I'm gonna wrap up the stream part. We can still stay here and discuss as long as we want, but I really appreciate you joining us here. Tomorrow, I'll come and read lesson 246. We'll have another great day, and we'll hear all the